Hey everybody, so you like to travel? Well, so do I. But you gotta pay for that travel somehow. The way how I do it is I sell my images I take while I travel in the stock photography market. But you have to have some really great images to do that. Today I'm going to share with you guys one of the ways how I sell my images, and that is I create panoramas. We're going to go through the entire process from capturing the image all the way to processing the image. Let's do this.
I can be with you wherever, stay at home or in a foreign land. I can stay like this forever, 'cause I got the world in my
So I'm going to hook up a cable release to my camera. Now this cable release will allow me to trigger the shutter without touching the camera, and that's going to prevent vibrations, which causes your images to become blurry. Trick is get in there. Now if you don't have a cable release, if you have a newer phone, you may be able to do this through an app on your phone, or just set the 2-second timer and use that instead. We've got some beautiful clouds above these mountains in front of me where the sun's going to rise. That's going to be our subject today. So I want to get a sweeping view of the color that's happening right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the leveler on my tripod and get it as level as possible. Now also the stand, the head. I already tightened up the head of the tripod. As you use it, it loosens up, so you do have to just tighten it so it doesn't wiggle. Now we've got this set up. We need to get the camera set up. We need to take a look at the things that can change as I'm taking multiple images. That's going to be the white balance. That's going to be the aperture, the focus, the shutter speed. All that we need to switch over to manual. So when it comes to the camera's white balance, that's going to be a little bit hard during these lighting conditions. Just choose one. We can fix that in post-processing. That's not a hard one. It is hard if you have multiple images at different white balances. All right, now that I got the camera up here, we've got the white balance set. The next thing is going to be the focus. So you want to first go to autofocus and find what's going to be the main focus of your image. For me, it's going to be it's the mountaintop. So let's switch it on. Let the autofocus take over, and now it's off. That way, as I move the camera around, it's not going to change focus. Now, the reason why you don't want that to happen is as the focus changes, it does a slight zooming effect on the lens, and it's going to throw your panorama off. So find your focal point, set it, and turn off the autofocus. Go to manual. Also, image stabilization, turn it off as well. Using the sensor, my camera's leveler, I've already made sure this camera is level, and I'm only going to be moving on this axis. That's going to keep the camera as flat as possible to avoid any arcing of the image. And that's going to maximize the resolution I have to play with. The other thing here is going to be exposure. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold down the shutter button halfway, and I can see my exposure where it's at while looking at the main focus of my image. What I can do now is I'm going to control the shutter speed. I have the aperture set. We're in manual mode. So my ISO set at 100. I have my aperture set at f9, so those are all going to stay. So it's the shutter speed. You know, for a dead-end road, this thing's getting a little busy. All right, so anyhow, my shutter speed is what I'm going to use to control. I'm going to adjust the shutter speed so that my exposures are correct. And now I'm ready to start the pano. Now when I do the pano, I do have my grid lines turned on. And normally what I do is, as I'm moving it, what was on the right grid line, as I rotate it, I stop on the left grid line. And for most cases, this works really well. However, there's a situation I ran into when it didn't. The situation when that didn't work was out at Lake Mead, where I had some power lines. And what I've discovered is when I have some horizontal lines, I've got to move the camera a little less each time. These images at first look amazing until you look up close. One of the things I could not resolve in post-processing were the alignment of the power lines in these panos. Look closely. Either Lightroom was not able to align them when it merged the images, the power lines defied gravity by arcing up instead of down, or something else was wrong. So what I do now is whatever's in the center of the image, when I move it, I stop when whatever's in the center reaches one of the two grid lines, and that gives me a lot more images. It takes a lot more time to process, but it does produce a better pano. Notice as I take these, I completely take my hand off the tripod. That way there's no shaking, no vibrating, and I can get razor sharp images. Also remember to overshoot your panos. Go a little farther to the left, a little farther to the right, just to make sure you've got enough image data to produce what you're looking for. So we are out of the field and we're ready to develop this image. And I'd like to apologize if we get some unusual background noise. I sometimes have to live a semi-digital nomadic life, and today's one of those days. I'm actually at the United Club in Houston right now on my way out to Florida. So again, I apologize if we get some unusual background noises here. So we're in Lightroom, we're ready to merge all of our images together. So I'm going to select the images that I want to merge and press Control M. Now, if you were doing some bracketing, it would detect the bracketing and it would go ahead and ask you, do you want to do this as an HDR merge? And of course you would click yes. Now in the upper right hand corner you'll see the three different projections. Spherical says try to render this as if you're looking at on the inside of a sphere. Cylindrical says render this as if you're looking at it from the inside of a cylinder. And perspective says render it as if it's on a flat piece of paper. Alright, so if this horizon looked like it was maybe warped in any way, in this case it's not because we did a real good job at setting up the camera in the field, I could use the boundary warp to kind of change up the perspective just a little bit to see if I can get a nice flat horizon. So I happen to like this projection because I do have a little bit more of the ground. Alright, we also have create a stack. Now with create a stack, that means when I merge the images together, what happened is I'll have a master image that's merged, and logically stacked underneath it will be all the child images in Lightroom. That way it kind of cleans up your desktop as you go. We're going to go ahead and merge. It will take a few minutes, so I do recommend you have a solid state drive that you're running Lightroom off of, and also have plenty of free space available so it can do its thing. Let's take a look and see what this image looks like once it has been merged. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep taking panos because the light is constantly changing. The clouds are starting to light up. We're getting lots of beautiful color. So this is going to give us a wide variety of different types of images. I'm also going to be changing the focal length of the lens so we can have different types of landscapes, so to speak. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Also, I'm going to set up the drone because I think I'm probably going to put it up in the air and try and get some aerial panos as well. Next week is my monthly episode on what images I've sold in the previous month. Just to drop you a hint, this February set a new sales record for the month of February. Click subscribe and stay tuned to see what is selling in the stock photography market.